Hello, everyone. Welcome to Where Are All the Women? I'm Meghan Murphy. This is Mary Lou Singleton.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing, Mary Lou?
I'm good. It's hot here, but that's normal for summer,
Oh, I'm so sweaty.
I can't even imagine.
I have like a permanent sweat mustache. Sorry, everybody. And I've got the AC on 24/7, and I'm actually going to turn my fan on right now. Hopefully it's not noisy. Yeah, and this is only the beginning of the summer, so more sweating to come. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're in the live chat and you have questions or comments that you'd like us to address on air, please use the super chat so that I see it. And I feel like all the topics that I wanted to talk about today are my favorite topics to talk about.
Oh,
lady child predators.
you like that?
No,
You like
no,
that topic?
I don't. It's not that I like it. It's that I find the debate around the question of female. What? Okay. So did you read this article about Christina Formella? Or there's a few articles about her.
I read several of them. What are your thoughts on Christina Formella?
Well, she seems like a bad person.
Yeah, she is a bad person.
So Christina Formella, am I getting her name right? Let me just double check. Formella, yeah. So she was arrested in March after it was discovered that she had been having an affair with a 15-year-old. She was a teacher and soccer coach at Downers Grove South High School. And she's been charged with like 55 counts of criminal sexual assault, aggravated criminal sexual abuse, grooming, and indecent solicitation of a child. This article from the New York Post, I believe, says Formella allegedly raped the 15-year-old, this is a boy, dozens of times in the classroom and multiple times at her and her husband's home. So she was married. I think she got married during the process of this affair that she was having with this kid. He was 14 when this began, and she was 28 years old. So
twice his age. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she and her husband are college sweethearts. They got married last year, just weeks before Formella's alleged relationship with the boy came to an end in September. And I guess, I saw on X a tweet from Colin Rugg, and he refers to her as where am I looking? Yeah, he says that she was grooming the kid, and she's been called a pedophile online. She's obviously been called a child rapist. I guess, okay. I mean, I think my opinion about this always pisses people off, because this is like a 15-year-old boy's dream. Sorry. I don't think that she's a good person. I think she's clearly a very like messed up person, but I don't think that this kid has been victimized. That's my controversial opinion. I feel like 15-year-old boys who get to sleep with their hot 28-year-old teacher are like stoked. This is what I think.
I think maybe in the moment they are, but I think it's really damaging to them. And I think it should be illegal for teachers to have sex with underage students.
Sure, of course. I agree that it should be illegal for teachers to have sex with underage students, but
committed crime.
Yeah, I think that it's that often people, like, I see the situation differently when it's an older male and a teenage girl versus an older woman and a teenage boy, because I think that is always traumatic for a teenage girl, and that it's not always traumatic for a teenage boy. And I think that people who don't see things that way maybe don't understand how different boys are than girls, maybe.
I think I would need to see the data of boys this has happened to and see what they think about it 15 years later. And yeah, I mean, I know quite a few men who had sex with women in their 20s when they were between 12 and 15, and all of them are pretty upset about it.
Well, 12 is quite young. 15, I think, is a different thing.
I still think it's illegal. I just think it's illegal. Like, you've got to hold a line on that.
Yeah,
And
it's illegal.
I think that it's, you'd have to present data. Like, do you know guys this has happened to who are happy about it? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. You're asking this boy to keep secrets, I think of the Mary Beth Latinero case. Do you know about that one?
Oh, yeah.
She was a teacher in Washington who ended up marrying the student after she got out of prison, and she had
they had kids together. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was obviously like a really messed up person. Yeah. No, I have a hard line on it. Like, I don't care if some guys aren't traumatized by it. I think teachers should be punished really harshly for having sex with students.
Yeah. I mean, my argument isn't that she shouldn't be punished. She should be punished because she did do something that was illegal. And I do think that that is illegal and should be illegal. But I think that, I mean, first of all, I don't know if what do you think about the pedophile label for that kind of situation?
No, I don't think it's officially pedophilia. What's the term the pedophile apologist men like to throw around? Hebephilia. When they're when men are attracted to young teenage females, it's HEBE-philia, hebephilia. I think true pedophilia is prepubescent kids. I think it's wildly inappropriate. I think it's a gross abuse of power, and I think it has a possibility of really, really, really messing this kid up. So I have no apology for it. And you got to remember, like, my background of growing up in going to Catholic school, in a school where the priests were running a child prostitution ring. Like, that's the diocese I grew up in. Like, I'm hard line on this. Like, go to jail.
Yeah, but I'm not saying don't go to jail. Like, sure, she should go to jail. What I'm saying is that I don't think that he's necessarily been. I think that her behavior was wrong, but I don't know that he's necessarily traumatized by this. And I think that a lot of teenage boys in that situation would be happy about the situation.
He's traumatized now. Like, everybody is.
I mean, he didn't tell anybody.
He's super messed up now.
Why?
Well, because it's like everyone's talking about it. His mom knows. Like, he's got to go to court and testify about his sex life. Like, that's profoundly traumatizing.
Right? Maybe.
And she put him at risk of that, if nothing else.
I mean, he didn't come out and say anything about it. The way that it was, like, it was his mom found text messages between them on his phone, and then I think she called the cops, and then the cops came and arrested her. I mean, yeah, I don't know what she's like a very attractive woman, and again, what she did was wrong.
I don't think it would have been wrong if she met him. I was going to say in a bar, but then a crime has been committed then, because he's not allowed in a bar in this country. Like, she met him somewhere else, like a bird watching club or something. Would I think it's the same degree? No, the issue is the extreme abuse of power.
Well, yeah, and it's wildly inappropriate. I mean, you're his teacher. Like, not only is he a teenager and you're an adult, but you're his teacher, and like you're tutoring him. Like, I don't know, not having boundaries around that is just really, really
criminal.
Weird. Yeah. Like, and yeah, she strikes me as like some kind of like psycho or something like this. Because again, also she was married, like, and she's having an affair with a 15-year-old boy at school.
Well, some of the reports of the text I read, or I guess she had a notes app in her phone where she was really upset that he was trying to break it off, and she's the best thing he's ever going to have. So it sounds like she got really psycho on him. That's traumatizing. Like, he was trying to stop having sex with her, and
I missed that.
Well, in one of the notes, it's like she was upset that he broke up with her, and she's writing like, how dare he? I'm the best thing he's ever going to have, and yeah, I think she really messed up. This is completely abhorrent. And I think that I'm not into double standards for sexual behavior, and I think it's rape.
I am. I'm for sure
Yeah.
into double standards for sexual behavior because I
Legally?
think that men and women, no, not legally,
Yeah.
just in a, how we think about it and understand it kind of way, because men and women are so different. And I think that, like it's like when men say, oh, well, women abuse men too, or women rape men too. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, they don't. Like, it's not the same thing at all. Like, yeah, women can be abusive, but women aren't a threat to men in the way that men are a threat to women.
No, a 15-year-old boy could kill a 25-year-old woman without a problem. Like he's bigger and stronger than her. It's not like she's going to overpower him physically. My concerns about the double standard are it just opens up, it gives so much ammunition to the gross men's rights activists, who don't think don't think men should be held accountable for the same behavior. And also I just think we have laws for a reason, and there's a good chance this could really fuck this kid up.
I mean, it could. I have no idea. I don't know him. I don't know his situation, but I do think that there is a remarkable difference between a situation that was reversed, where it was a 28-year-old male teacher and a 14 or 15-year-old female student, as opposed to the other way around. I just think the dynamic is still different. But yeah, it's illegal either way, and it should be illegal either way. And she's a deeply messed up person. I don't know that I would see her as a danger, I suppose, in the way that I would see a man as a danger who did the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, if she gets crazy about him breaking up, it's statistically astronomically small odds that she would go kill him. But men do that all the time, like every day in this, in this country. Men who get upset with women for leaving them go kill them. She's not a physical danger to him. She's not going to get him pregnant. She can't like physically overpower him. But I do think it's really really wrong, and I think it is abuse. And I think that I know men who are really messed up by teachers behaving this way toward them.
Female teachers?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're
and
high
neighbors
school kind of thing?
and I know. I mean, and neighbors and friends' moms and adult women acting very inappropriately with teenage boys that they are supposed to have better boundaries with.
That's so weird.
Is it?
No, it's weird that women would do that. Like, I don't know
lots of
women
messed
who
up
have
women.
done that.
Well, I don't know if I know any women who've done that either, but I know women who are messed up sexually and do all kinds of crazy things.
I wonder what would lead an adult woman to pursue a teenage boy. Like, Mary Kay Letourneau. Yeah, I think I watched a documentary about that whole situation fairly recently, maybe last year or something like that. And yeah, she seems like a really messed up, maybe kind of narcissistic person, very manipulative is how she came off to me. But at the same time, I mean, they stayed together for years and years and years and years.
Are they still married?
You know what? I think they may finally have separated. Let me check.
Adults marrying teenagers is a very common historical phenomenon. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing.
Okay. So she had 2 children with, I don't know how to say his name, Vili Fualau.
I think a Filipino student in her class.
Right. Yeah, I think he was like 13 when that whole thing started. And hold on, I just want to see. Wait, did she die?
How did she die?
Did she die? This is confusing.
Someone in the comments
her
is
Wikipedia. Oh, okay, her Wikipedia page says she was born in 1962 to 2020. Did she die in 2020? How is it possible? How did I miss that?
Well, maybe she didn't wear a mask, Meghan. She got COVID after. 2020.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I guess I don't know. I agree with you that that's a really messed up thing for the woman to do. But what I think I disagree with is the victimization or necessary trauma on the other end for the teenage boy who might have been, or might not, but might have been stoked.
Yeah, he might have been, but he might have been stoked in the moment and then not stoked later when he's trying to have like normal sexual relations with women and is all imprinted on like a gross teacher who exploited him.
Maybe. We'll see. I would like to do a poll of men to see what they think about this, if they would have been stoked, like as adult men thinking back to when they were teenagers, if they were 15 and their hot 28-year-old female teacher had sex with them, if they would have been stoked or traumatized. I'm curious.
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree with you that it should be illegal and that there has to be a hard line around that. If not, it's just way too dangerous.
Right. They're looking at 60 years. I think that's an excessive sentence compared to what male rapists get. I mean, so unusual for men to be convicted of rape first, but then to get any kind of sentence near 60 years, unless they're a serial rapist who nearly killed multiple women. Like I don't think
that's what I mean, though. Because I agree. Like, I agree that's excessive, because I don't think that she's like necessarily a danger. I just think she's a really bad kind of psycho person. But like, I don't think that she's, a threat or a danger to anyone. So
she should have her license removed forever. And I think she should go to jail just because of the precedent if she's found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Spuddo in the comments says, would have been stoked, but would have been permanently messed up. So
there you go. We're both right. We're both right.
Phew. And then Dragon Kiddigan said about Mary Kay Letourneau, she was a controlling freak with Billy. Watched some of their last interviews before her death. I think I recall thinking that she was controlling and manipulative with him. I mean, he'd been with her since he was like 13 years old. So that's weird. Like, he's never had a real relationship with anybody else, just her.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, I related, apparently, I don't know if this stat is how accurate this stat is or not, but women over 35 now have a 78% chance of dating younger men. Supposedly this is referencing an article from Psychology Today, but I couldn't find it. And they say younger men are more, so they're saying why is this the case that older women are now dating younger men more often? This is more common than it was before. And I think that is for sure true, because I think just equality, maybe like feminism has sort of, I don't know, I guess maybe like so their theory is, before I start talking about nothing, they say younger men are more open-minded, sexually adventurous, and emotionally available as compared to older generations. Studies show men under 35 are 40% more likely to prioritize emotional connection over traditional roles, making them more compatible with confident, self-sufficient women. This shift is also influenced by partner availability theory. Sounds like they just made that up, which finds that as women age, the pool of single age-matched men shrinks, while younger men seek experience, stability, and less drama. And younger men often idealize older women for their confidence, clarity, and sexual self-awareness, things that often don't develop in younger women till later. So that all like tracks to me, because older women are so much more confident and self-assured in a variety of ways versus younger women. And I've always said, like, men don't care about age at all. Like, these guys on Twitter who live on the internet act like men care a lot, but I've always been hit on by younger guys, and often like much younger guys. And all of the guys that I've sort of dated or whatever since my last relationship have been younger Like it just doesn't, it's not relevant to anybody. I don't think anybody really cares. And
How young? 15?
no,
Just kidding. I don't think it's illegal
Like-
down there.
like 32.
Okay, that's much older than 15. Yeah.
No, I'm not dating teenagers.
That's good. That's good.
Like more like, yeah, men in their 30s.
Mhm.
And I'm 45. So,
Mhm.
10 or so. It's, it's an age gap for sure. But I mean, I have tons of friends in their 30s. Like I just, and I can't see any big difference between me and like my friends who are like, 35 or so. I feel
Mhm.
like when you get to a certain point of adulthood, you're all pretty similar.
Yeah. That's interesting so who are the women of that generation dating?
The younger women?
Mhm.
That's a good question. I mean, but apparently Gen Z is not dating at all. So
No, they don't date.
nobody.
They've been on Prozac since they were 12. They don't have completely numb genitals. It's very sad.
I mean, I think that men of that age still date women of their age and younger, but they also date or are willing to date older women too. And I don't know, like I think I kind of like younger men better than older men because I feel like a lot of older men are like kind of embittered and kind of stuck in their ways and kind of old fashioned and disconnected from I find that I hate saying the word pet peeve, like the word pet peeve I think has become my pet peeve, but like one of my pet peeves about men, not all men, obviously, but a lot of men do this thing where they talk at you and they think they are like regaling you with interesting stories and they're never interesting. But that's also not interesting because it's not a conversation. Like nobody wants to be talked at. You want somebody to be listening and responding and asking questions and interested in you and interested in learning about you. Like somebody just talking at you about themselves is extremely irritating, lacking in self-awareness, and boring. And I find that that's a thing that older men do a lot. And I find that younger men, or at least the younger men that I've dated or have been I have a lot of male friends who are younger than me too, are just not like that at all. Like they're very interested in learning about you, are better at listening, are not so self-absorbed to the point where they think they're very interesting when they're not. So I don't know what that's about.
It's a terrible trait. The guy who thinks he's super interesting and is not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I know. It's really bad.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Do you think that that's true of the younger generations?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I'm trying to think. Like I'm just not observing that in my life. So I only know what Psychology Today is telling me, what was it, a 78% chance?
I think, I mean, and again, I don't know how accurate that number is, but I think it's definitely way, way, way more common than it used to be for older women to date younger men. I think also like getting older isn't the same as it once was. Like being in your 40s doesn't seem old. And like, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, I think that did seem old.
Right. Remember the Golden Girls? And weren't they were all relatively young.
Yeah. Yeah. There's all these women, these female characters from old TV shows who looked like ancient and were treated as though they were ancient. And then they're like 40.
Yeah.
Or something, you know what I mean?
Right. Like Alice on the Brady Bunch was like 34 or 35.
Really? Yeah. Like she seems like she was 60, right?
Yeah. Right. Totally. Totally.
I mean, but yeah, I wonder, I don't know. Yeah, I think it would make sense that millennial men probably just are, I don't know, maybe more comfortable like being vulnerable or talking about their emotions or something like that than the older generations. Does that make sense to you?
That's a theory for sure that makes sense. I also wonder how many of them, I've just been noticing people not wanting to work and how many of them are looking for a sugar mama kind of situation where like
Maybe,
take
but I
care of
mean, I
me.
don't have any money, so I
That
don't
doesn't
think it's
explain
about that.
Yeah.
I still expect to be paid for, regardless
Yeah.
of how old the man is. I'm not paying a man's way.
All right. So it's not that in your case. Yeah. Do you think that might be going on though? Because there is this whole phenomenon of so many millennial and younger men who don't work. They're, what are they called? The needs no employment, education, or training, like not in employment, education, or training. They're just living with their parents and playing video games and watching porn.
I think that that's a Gen Z thing.
Is that a Gen Z
I don't
thing?
know. I mean, I know I have a lot of millennial friends and a lot of millennial male friends, and they're all awesome and they're really hard workers and they like run their own businesses and they're making good money and they're healthy and athletic and pretty like deep and often pretty spiritual. These are kind of the more like based, like red pilled type guys, maybe not the lefty cuck types, but you know, I think Gen Z might be more deeply messed up than the millennials are because they literally did grow up on their phones. And so they did grow up being exposed to pornography really young. And that seems to be the generation that's not socializing. I saw this, I don't know if you saw this tweet that I posted last night. And it was, I don't know if it was a male or a female, but they were asking, here, let me find it actually. Okay, so
about the party.
Yeah. There was a post. So it was a post on Reddit, and it says "Youngin asking Gen X, were parties like this ever actually a thing?" And it's a photo from a scene from Clueless, and they're at a house party. And then the post reads, I love 90s and 2000s movies so much. And all of the teen movies have one of these party scenes. They look so fun. I'm Gen Z and I've never been to anything like this. So was this a thing that just doesn't happen anymore? Or is it just Hollywood trying to make me hate my life more? And I was like, this is the saddest thing. Like Gen Z is not doing house parties anymore. House parties were like the thing.
Right.
But millennials did house parties too, because I got a ton of responses from people who were Gen X, you know, or people even a bit older, and then millennials too, and they were all saying that they did house parties in the aughts as well. But that's all stopped with Gen Z. I think they're just straight not socializing, they're not dating, they're not having sex.
They're afraid of everything. Yeah. When did it stop? When did the partying stop?
A lot of people in my comments were saying COVID.
Well, of course it stopped in COVID because the government completely messed us up, and just the fear campaign, the terror campaign of COVID. Well, that makes sense. So is that Gen Z? Like how old were they then? Gen Z starts in 1997.
I mean, okay. So when we were doing house parties mostly happen when you're underage so that you have somewhere to drink. So we were going to house parties kind of at, 16, 17, 18, 19. There was still I still went to a lot of house parties through my 20s, but I think it's sort of more of like a high school thing. So if Gen Z was in high school when COVID hit, which, they would have been, or a lot of them would have been, that never happened. And so maybe it just never became a thing for them permanently.
Yeah, I could see that. So I grew up, rurally, and we didn't always have house parties. If someone's parents were out of town, there was like a rager at their house. That was just the way you did it. But usually we partied in a field, a keg party in some completely remote, middle of nowhere field. I can't even believe how insanely dangerous. And we all drive home from there completely drunk and just
right.
insane, just insane. But yeah, we partied a lot. And if anybody's parents were out of town, like everybody knew there was going to be a big house party. And even if you didn't know that kid well, you could show up with your friends. Like if you weren't more than 4 degrees of separation removed from that kid, you were coming to the party. It's just how it goes. Yeah, it was such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
sad.
that's what I've heard about if you lived in a rural place, I think there was lots of like parties in fields and the woods and stuff like that. I was in a city, so there was lots of house parties, but we also still would like party at the beach and in the park, in the parking lot, stuff like that too. But yeah, I think they must have I think they're just not socializing at all.
Didn't they? They're way less likely to drink. They're less likely to socialize. I wonder if it's just COVID or if it's other things.
I don't know.
Just a few years made a difference. So my kids are born in I have a millennial and I have a Gen Z, and they are very different in their take of the world. And my millennial daughter, was still doing all the risk-taking stuff. My son did some stuff, but his take on the world is much more fearful. It's much more, he wants he trusts the authorities. It really is a generational thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the impression I get too. I'm not around. I don't know a lot of Gen Z. I'm trying to think if I know any Gen Z people. Like I do hang out with a lot of younger people, but not that young. Like I said, like more millennial, younger. So I'm not sure that I know that many Gen Z people, but I do know, like I have a friend who works with Gen Zs through a university program. He, like teaches them, it's physiotherapy, blah, 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 blah. And so he's told me, because, they go on these trips sometimes to Sayulita. So I met a couple of them there. And yeah, none of them drank or partied. They were all very, very naive. Like, and these are kids who were like, in their early, like 20.
Yeah, really naive.
And just not like they'd had no life experience. They never took any risks. I think they were afraid of everything and had a lot of anxiety and weren't interested in going out and partying or having fun. And we're really interested in looking at their phones. Like all the stereotypes. I think that's fairly true for that generation.
I've just been raised with so much more safetyism. I was explaining to an older teenager in my practice a couple of weeks ago that my generation, I grew up and we didn't have seatbelts in the car, let alone car seats. Like the cars that I grew up in, there were no seatbelts. Seatbelts were an extra. You had to pay extra for at the car dealership. My family did not have them. Yeah, never wore a seatbelt. And then their seatbelt laws came like when I was in high school, and you had to have seatbelts on, and people really didn't like it. And then no one wore a bike helmet. Nobody was so. Yeah, we were just raised with a lot less fear. With this kid, I thought this kid was going to have a heart attack when I was telling her that I grew up I didn't wear a seatbelt ever until I was about 16 years old. I think this is the first time I wore a seatbelt.
I kind of love that. Like, and I know it's irrational for me to love that because I know that it's safer to wear a seatbelt in a car, but I also just kind of like the laissez-faire olden days.
I knew multiple kids who'd been thrown from the car in car accidents. I do think that cars are safer now with airbags and seatbelts, but we've also lost something. We just lost the boldness of youth. And I think it's because they've been taught to be so scared all the time. So there's always a trade-off. And safetyism has created a really neurotic generation that doesn't want to they don't want to take any risks at all.
No.
Just 15 years ago, my greatest fear for that generation, for 14 to 25-year-olds, was excessive risk taking. That was my fear for them, was they were taking too many risks, and I just try to help them have some guardrails on that. Now my fear is they don't take any risks, and I'm just trying to coach them and psych them up, like, you can do it, you can cross the street, you can order a pizza, you can drive a car. They don't want to do it. They're terrified of everything.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it's really, really sad.
Tracy in the comments says, I still don't wear my seatbelt. And that just reminded me that I also never wear a seatbelt. Because I don't drive over here. My truck's back in Vancouver. If I'm driving in my truck, I have a seatbelt. So if I'm in a vehicle, it's almost always a cab or an Uber. And for some reason, my entire life, I've been averse to wearing a seatbelt in a taxi cab. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, I don't like it. I won't wear one if I'm in the back seat.
No.
And I think it's because when the seatbelt laws came to Pennsylvania when I was growing up, you only had to have one in the front seat. And I just don't feel like I need one in the back seat. I don't like how it feels. I don't want to wear it.
That's also how I feel. But I've always I'm like, this seems irrational, but I don't like it. And I kind of refuse to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Remember, we wanted freedom. Like, we couldn't wait to go take risks and get out of the house and do the crazy stuff I did as a teenager. As a mother now, I can't even comprehend how I would feel if I had known my kid was doing that stuff. And I used to tell my kids, like, here's the deal. Here's the work of adolescence is, I know you're going to be doing all kinds of stuff you don't want me to find out about, and you're going to be finding your own way with stuff, and you need to bring me good grades and no calls from authority figures, and keep a lid on it, and then you're good. You got freedom. But as soon as any of that's happening, I got to step in and control your life, and nobody wants that. Yeah. So I didn't want to know what they were doing. As long as they were doing it in a way I wasn't hearing about it, they were at least being marginally prudent, or very lucky. I mean, both, probably some prudence and some luck.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I don't want to have to be stressing about you or spending my energy trying to control your entire life. So help me out.
Totally. Bring me good grades and no calls from teachers or cops, and you get freedom. Yeah, that's all it takes. And I did have a curfew, which I felt like was like, I can't go to sleep until you're home, and you've got to be in by 11. And my daughter and I would just like power struggle on that all the time, of just, until I'm fine until 11 o'clock. And then when 11:01 hits, my immediate thought is, I better start calling the morgues to see if there are any unidentified bodies. Like, it's just, my brain flips into that. I can't help it. So you have to be home by then, or call me. Just let me know you're coming late. But she doesn't really understand my insanity around it. So, or respect it.
I was livid about I had an 11 p.m. curfew, and it was the worst thing in the world because it seemed totally arbitrary, because all of my friends' curfew was midnight. And so if we were out, or if we were like, and then they wanted to stay at the party or wherever we were, and I was relying on them for a ride, my parents would still insist that I be home at 11. And it's like, okay, so I'm supposed to force my friends to leave an hour early because you have this arbitrary curfew that's 1 hour before everybody else that I know.
Totally. Yeah. And that stuff is why, those rules you bristle against are why you want to get out of the house by 18. Like, you want to make your own rules. You want to go to college or get an apartment and get a job. And I'm not seeing that either. As kids are not separating from their parents. They're way too entwined with their parents. They're not keeping anything secret from their parents. This individuation is not happening to the same degree with this generation. And it really concerns me.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really concerning. I think they're going to be such anxious, kind of useless, unhappy adults.
I worry about that. I'm thinking this one time I intervened with my daughter when she had told me she was going to go to this party. And for some reason, like, she thought I'd think it was cool that this party that she was planning to go to the next night was in an arroyo. That's a a huge drainage dish for the storms here. Like it turns into a raging torrent of water. It was in a cave dug into the side of an arroyo during monsoon season.
What?
Like, absolutely not. I'm taking the keys. You cannot go to this party. You are staying home tomorrow night. You can't leave the house until I know the party's over. She was like 16 years old.
What a terrible idea.
It was so bad. I'm like, you can't do this. Like you can't. And she's like, I shouldn't have told you. I shouldn't have told you. Like, well, you told me. And now I can't let you out of the house because that is the most terrifying thing that I've ever heard. And then 2 days later, she's like, well, everyone went to that party and nobody died. So you were wrong.
Nobody died.
Right?
Like, well, I'm glad that nobody died. That doesn't mean it was a good idea.
Exactly. That's what teenagers should be doing. Like they're supposed to be testing limits. They're supposed to be doing crazy things. And hopefully there's somebody who loves them or some kismet around them that'll protect them when they're about to do something really stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's just youth is for doing stupid things, and it is dangerous. And of course, things can go awry, but for the most part, they don't. Like for the most part, you puke a lot. Maybe you have some encounters with the cops.
Totally, but it's so fascinating. And these kids they welcome authoritarianism, and they want rules. They want everyone to follow the rules. And it's not 100%, but a huge chunk of Gen X, like they were very into masking. Most of the people I still see masking are that generation.
Oh God, that's so depressing.
Statistically, the least likely to die of a respiratory illness, but they're still afraid of it. They want a lot of government oversight of their lives. They're more likely to advocate for like universal basic income or the government to take care of them. It's everybody else. It's society's responsibility to take care of them because they have social anxiety and they're autistic and they, and which they really aren't. They're just people with quirks who never got a chance to individuate and take some risks and become an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, ironically, because it seems like I don't know if it's that they're terrified or just uninterested in drinking and partying or doing drugs, but they are all doing drugs. They're all drug addicts. They're all on ADHD meds or anti-anxiety meds or antidepressants or whatever, which I think are way worse for your health than drinking.
Probably.
I mean, you don't drink every day. Like,
well, drinking,
but you take those pills every day, right?
Right. And again, when you start taking those SSRIs, those antidepressants in adolescence, you never develop sexually. Like those kids have like permanent loss of libido, loss of sexual function. They have a numbing effect on the genitals, loss of ability to orgasm. And more and more young people in their late 20s are coming forward and saying that it's become permanent for them, that they were on that stuff for 5-10 years and they never got their sexual function back.
That's horrible. This is going to be the end of Western civilization, because I think, and I say Western civilization because I don't think that this is the case in other countries, but I think this is the case in the West, like in North America, probably in the UK, Europe. This is probably a similar trend. Australia, places like that.
It's picking up. Yeah, it's definitely picking up, but I don't think they're quite as drugged out.
Yeah. But I mean, because they're not, they're not drinking, they're not having sex, they're not dating, they're not socializing, and they're on these drugs that kill the libido. Like, what is going to happen to the future generations? Like, who's going to be doing the reproducing?
Well, they're normalizing reprotech. That's just getting more and more popular. It's 2% of kids in the United States are reprotech now. So 1 in 50, and in Denmark it's 1 in 8. So it's it's definitely happening there too. So they're normalizing the idea that you don't even make babies through sex. You have somebody, you pay someone to make your baby in a lab and then implant it into you, or implant it in somebody else and have her do it. That's also being normalized. So the complete separation between of sexuality from reproduction has had enormous consequences on the psyche. It's crazy. I mean, I go back and read like the Catholic Church document from the 60s, the Human Life document, where they're talking about what's going to happen to society because of the contraceptive mindset. And they were right about all of it. It's like the normalization of prostitution and reproductive technology and complete separation of people don't think about making love to make a baby, and babies aren't made of passion anymore. Like that's what we're moving toward, is this completely Gattaca like society where that's just how you make your babies. It'll probably be considered shameful to have a baby made of passion because you didn't do the pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and you let your kid have a quirk that they could have not implanted that embryo if they'd known genetically that kid was going to have that issue.
I mean, it's all kind of like Brave New Worldy, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Right.
It's just depressing. I know you have to get going really soon, so I just quickly want to talk about Lena Dunham's fatness.
Poor Lena Dunham.
She looks like, how do you get that fat?
She had a hysterectomy a couple of years ago, and she's unhappy. She's probably on psych meds.
Yeah. I just because I saw this post online where she's saying that we live in a culture that is deeply fat phobic, misogynistic, racist, ageist. She's talking about society being fat phobic and like obsessed with her body and her fatness. And I just, I mean, I was going to say, like, I believe in the concept of fat phobia, but I think that it's legitimate. Like, I think that we are fat phobic. Like,
I don't think we're nearly as fat phobic as we used to be. I mean, people,
right.
used to hound girls and young women if they were just like slightly fluffy, like, like weights that I would love to see be the norm again. So I think people are actually far less fat phobic than they used to be.
That's true.
It's way acceptable to be overweight now. There's minimal social shaming. I guess now in her class of people, like, why isn't she on Ozempic?
Yeah. I mean, I think she does get shamed a lot for her body, but I also think that it's natural to be repulsed by obesity.
It's a disease. It's not health. You shouldn't want to make a baby with somebody with that disease. Like it's not, it makes sense that you wouldn't be attracted to that.
Yeah. No, it's disgusting. And it's not natural. Like, yeah, maybe there's a few people here and there who have some kind of condition that means that they're obese, but you have to eat so badly to get that fat and really do no exercise at all. And that's just so bad for your health and so dangerous.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be you'd have to have some kind of, you'd have to be, I think, unhappy to get that fat and stay that fat. I mean,
she's not, it doesn't look to me like she's just carrying extra weight with an active lifestyle and mostly good nutrition with, occasional binging. Like, this looks really unhealthy with what's happened. And she's in a class where she has access to nutritionists and personal trainers and good gyms. And like, she's, I think she's probably depressed if she's that inactive as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's always, I mean, in Girls, I rewatched Girls recently. It's a really good show. I mean, I think she's a super talented writer. She was 25 when she wrote that show, and the writing on that show is so good. I think it's pretty amazing. But she, even on that show, like, she was always chubby. She always had a body that looked unhealthy. Like, it looked like she just did no exercise at all. And that always kind of like irked me a bit, I guess. But then, she's completely blown up in the last few years or something like that. And
she's probably carbohydrate intolerant. She should probably go on a really low carb diet. She would do really well if she, just went keto or did some fasting. But I'm sure her metabolism's all messed up. Yeah. I like the show and I also didn't like the show. I just felt like Lana Dunham, her soul is sick. Like the messaging that she was giving, I was like, you could do anything. You could give any message to your generation, and you're just portraying sickness all the time as the norm. That show is so fucked up in terms of the dynamics, especially between men and women. And maybe
Yeah.
it was just showing what it is, but it just seemed sick to me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I thought that it was self-aware of all that because all the characters are deeply self-absorbed,
Yeah.
entitled, kind of toxic people in a lot of ways. But I think that she knew that and was doing that intentionally. So I don't know if it was an advertisement of that or if it was critical or what.
That's what I mean. It just seemed, I'm not sure it was critical. It just seemed like this is the way it is. Look how brilliant I am for noticing. And it was pretty brilliant, but it just seemed, it always just made me feel gross and sad when I would watch it. I didn't find it funny or entertaining in any way.
It got darker, like the later seasons got pretty dark. The earlier seasons were more, I thought, kind of funny. And then, things just kind of got, pretty dark and less pleasant.
Did you watch her movie she made? I think it was while she was at Oberlin or right after she graduated from college, called Tiny Furniture.
I did, but it was so long ago that I watched it that I don't really remember. I remember liking it when I watched it, but I can't remember now what it was about or what I liked about it.
I thought it was pretty beautiful. I think I would need to go back and revisit it, but my understanding is she's graduated from college and she's moving back home, and just the whack dynamics of her family. But it actually stars her mother and her sister, and I think her dad is in it too. So it's a really incisive, cool look at her artist class New York family that she grew up in.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And I think she was talented and smart. Something went wrong. I mean, who knows what kind of trauma, what kind of metabolic dysfunction she has, but it's not incurable. She could commit herself to figuring out what's a good diet for her metabolically and getting active, and then she'll be less depressed because she's active. And easier said than done, I know, but she has access to a lot of money.
Yeah, totally. If I had that much money, I'd have a trainer, 3 or 4 days a week.
And a chef. Get a chef and make the food really beautiful and delicious.
Totally. Yeah. Like it would be so, like if you have that much money, it's so easy, I think. And I mean, what she would have to do is just, go on a high protein, low carb diet and start walking and lifting weights. Like it's, easier said than done, because once you're in these bad habits, it's really hard to change, and working out sucks. And changing your diet is a challenge, but it's totally doable, and it would have a huge impact on her. What impact does having a hysterectomy have on that kind of thing?
Hysterectomy usually causes weight gain. I mean, when you spay female dogs, they gain weight, too. It's just, it throws you into hormonal dysfunction. The uterus is a big part of the endocrine system. It's not just like a useless bag if you're not, making babies with it. So probably threw her into menopause and more endocrine disruption. Often women, she had a hysterectomy for really painful endometriosis. And what I see again and again is when people have a hysterectomy for that, they often have just as much pain. And then they're still really miserable in their bodies. It rarely is curative to the pain they're having. The pain just shifts to a different flavor of pain rather than with the menstrual cycle entirely. And she's probably depressed and having chronic pain, and just seems, not a happy person.
Are there other cures for endometriosis besides a hysterectomy?
It's a really hard one. I've seen some people recover through acupuncture. I'm a big fan of the ketogenic diet. I really think it's very anti-inflammatory, and it definitely decreases the amount of pain you're in, and pain is always being caused by inflammation.
Yeah, right.
Oh, things are loud in my office. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she could have been cured of that or not, but I think it makes sense that she is unwell.
Yeah, it's just sad, and it's unpleasant and uncomfortable and sad to look at and watch somebody like that. You mean you can call it fatphobic, but the reality is that we can all see that you're unhealthy and probably a really, like you say, unhappy person, and you've shortened your life significantly. So why would we not be phobic of that?
Yeah. Well, and just her victim consciousness around it. Like when Roseanne Barr was morbidly obese, she never made it anybody else's problem.
Yeah.
She was still funny. She was still entertaining. She didn't pretend that, it was anybody else's fault, or that the only problem with it was people were fat phobic. So her personality is just not very sympathetic as well. I think she's a really sick person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somebody's given her airtime. Like, that's the issue, is why is she still in the news? Like, why is she still relevant?
Well, she has a new series coming out, so I think that's why she's doing all this stuff now. Like, I think she was in a magazine shoot, and there was like a magazine interview, so that's where these clips came from. But yeah, she has a new series coming out on Netflix, which I'm gonna watch. Curious to see if it's good or not. I hope that it is, but who knows? What is it called? Too Much. And I wonder if it started yet. Anyway, I'll watch and report back.
Sounds good.
You have to get going, I know.
So
Mary Lou has to wake up before the crack of dawn to go to the airport. So I'm gonna let her go to bed.
I'm gonna go.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you next
Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're here every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And you can find me and my work over at Substack at meganmurphy.ca, or just search for Meghan Murphy on Substack. I really appreciate paid subscribers. I've been writing a lot more lately, so I'm trying to get a few articles a week out, and usually 2 out of 3 are paywalled. So if you become a paid subscriber, you get to read those, and you get early access to all of my podcasts and exclusive access to video content. And you get to leave comments and chats. Mary Lou is on Substack at Mary Lou Singleton, and on Twitter at ML_Singleton. And I'm on, X, of course, Meghan E. Murphy. And we hope to see you all next week. Thanks for joining.
See you next week.
Okay, bye. Bye, Mary Lou. Bye everybody.